So, my quick thoughts on Tremors 7 Shrieker Island, the Logan, if you will, of the Tremors series, and hopefully the last one, because, yeah, when Mark read the reasoning for what happened in the movie, I'm like, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. Doesn't mean I like it, doesn't mean I want them to continue the series in that fashion without that character. Spoil, obviously, I'm not going to actually still say what it is, but you can kind of infer what I mean. But Shrieker Island is essentially kind of what you see in the movies. That Bert's gone really off the grid, like he's gone full castaway on an island, but they have to call him in to help save these people from some genetically engineered graboids and shriekers. And I will say that of the first four movies are the best movies of the series because they're still using the practical effects. The CG got better as it went along. Michael Gross's Burt Gummer is awesome. Enough said. But no, and they still generally kept the story pretty contained. Once they started going global, I'll admit, that's when the story starts to get a little more like, wait, what? There's a subspecies of graboid now. Oh, he's got a son, Jamie Kennedy. And we meet the woman he had the one night stand to make Jamie Kennedy. Yeah, to make Jamie Kennedy in this movie. And don't forget in Alaska too, or Canada, one too. No, Alaska, I believe. It started to lose pace. Plus, the effects work just started to suffer. The acting wasn't as good, although Michael Gross was still always giving it his all. Clearly, this was the character Michael Gross really liked to play because he kept coming back to it. Obviously, they were offering him probably a nice paycheck, too. I mean, not like Iron Man level money, but a decent paycheck, to say the least. And it's clear he had fun with this character. From day one, you could tell this was a character Michael Gross loved to play. Honestly, my favorite iteration of him in any of the movies is in the second movie, where that famous line comes out. It's like, I feel I was denied critical, need to know information. But yeah, it's this of the three like series directed DVD movies, Bloodlines, Cold Day in Hell, I think it was called, and this one, Shrieker Island. This one's the best of the three. This one's the best of the three by far. And I think this is probably one of the big things here. The effects work among the three sequels, like the three later sequels, is actually pretty good. There, you could see there when they were using some practical effects. The CG is actually pretty good. It's actually pretty solid. It's not the. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't have paid. Well, honestly, actually, if this had been in the movie theaters, I would have paid money to see it. See a Tremors movie on the big screen again? Hell yeah! Hell, give me the first one. I mean, I own the first five, so I own it. But doesn't mean if you said it was coming to the big screen, I wouldn't go see it again. But. Yeah, the effects were pretty solid. The action sequences we get are actually pretty decent. They make a good the design of the mutated Shrieker and the Graboid. The mutated Graboid itself isn't all that different than say what you get with the one from the African variety and the one the Alaskan one. It's not that different, but it is still unique enough. The Shriekers, my friend Sinead was with us last night as we were watching it, and she showed up for like the last 20 minutes. She'd never seen any of the movies. It's like, that doesn't look like, that looks like a dinosaur. And I'm kind of like, well, you're not wrong per se. They're not dinosaurs, but they were around before the time of it. They're old. So the effects work was actually pretty good. Where we start to suffer a bit is with the acting. Now, I'm not talking about Michael Gross or, give me 1 second here. Shrieker's, Tremors called Shrieker Island. Because it took me a while to be like, I recognize that actor. What is that actor's name? And hold on, Tremors, Shrieker Island. I'm like, because he plays basically kind of the villainish guy. He owns a company. He's a big game hunter. And he's basically the reason for his name is Richard. There we go, Richard Brake. I'm like, Richard Brake. And the reason I'm like, where do I recognize this guy from? And then I actually saw where I'd seen him. It's like, oh, he's in a lot of horror movies. Actually, not only is he in a lot of horror movies, he played Joe Chill in Batman Begins. He played, if you remember the old movie, if you remember the Doom movie, he was that creeper Portman in the Doom. He was in Munich, Black Dahlia, Hannibal Rising, Retribution. Let me see here, a couple other ones that are Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie one. He's actually was also in an episode on NCIS Los Angeles. Who knew? Good Water for Elephants. I'm going for some of the more well-known ones. The Counselor. Thor: The Dark World. He played a lieutenant of one of the Dark Elves. That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's cool. And because he was in makeup, we didn't recognize him. If he ever shows up in the MCU again, that's great. Kingsman, Kingsman Secret Service, he was the interrogator. I remember that. Let's see here. Anything else? He was in a couple episodes of Game of Thrones. I think he played the Night King. Oh my God, he played the Night King in Game of Thrones. Okay, at least in 2015 he did. 14 to 15. What else we got here? We got I know there was like a big big horror movie he was in a while ago. 30 was that it? 31? Was that the name of it? Yeah, that was the name of it. 31, where 5 carnival workers are kidnapped and held hostage in an abandoned hellish compound where they're forced to participate in a violent game with a bunch of basically a sadistic gang of clowns, basically. And he played one of the clowns. Yeah, he's really well known in like the horror movie circuit. And most recently, obviously, Shrieker Island, Cursed was a TV series. 3 from Hell, which I believe is a Rob Zombie film. And he's got quite a few announced and 2 in post-production. So he's a busy guy. He's got a lot. He's never really a lead, but he's one of those guys you recognize his face. And he plays that kind of crazy hunter pretty well. He has like an associate who's like a bow hunter. She's pretty good too. And like most everyone else is okay, whatever. Like the acting isn't necessarily the strong point of these movies. I mean, the comedic aspect of the acting is a strong point, but it's more about really the interaction with Bert and him being Bert, and how that plays out. I mean, the story is fight the graboid. That's basically how it always is. There's nothing more to it. But there's also this idea of destiny and doing what you're meant to do kind of thing. And because he says destiny, the line comes up twice. Destiny's a bitch. And he even talked. At one point when the graboid's the only one left, he's like, "You've been waiting for me, haven't you?" Well, he didn't say it like that, but you've been waiting for me. So there is this whole idea of this is what Bert's supposed to do. This is who Bert is. And yeah, when you get to the end, first off, it ends pretty abrupt. Like there's no epilogue or monologue. It's just ends there. There you go. Let's see. We're at the 8-minute mark. Okay, spoilers time because I have to talk about it. It ends the exact same way Logan did, on the grave. On Burt Gummer's grave. Burt Gummer, we even see him, basically, he even says, we're going to do something that my friends Val and Earl did. Some guys I used to know. Where basically they get the graboid to go off a cliff, except they make sure that Bert's dead, because Bert basically like to make sure it goes to plan, gets swallowed by the graboid. We're like, okay, he's been swallowed by a graboid before. We know he survived that. However... And he goes like a bad, he flips off the graboid and stuff like that. But however, they didn't just make sure that the graboid fell off a cliff. There was also giant punji sticks of bamboo and dynamite below there. Because Mark's like, well, no, he's alive for it. I'm like, yeah, but there were giant punji sticks and dynamite more. And then the graboid gets skewered and explodes. I'm like, oh God, they killed Bert. Like, you see his glasses and his hat, and they make, like, a gravestone. It's almost a la Logan, a la Star Trek Generations out of stones. And I'm just thinking, this was Logan. This is his Logan. This is the end of the character. And when Mark looked it up and explained why they killed Bert off, I'm like, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. Because the character of Bert's always been described as a conspiracy, not a very survivalist mentality. And in this day and age, in this climate... that as your hero, that starts to become a bit trouble. That does start to become a bit of a problem. So honestly, I don't like. And Michael Gross was in his 70s at this point. How many more of these could he do? But honestly, Yeah, that I can understand why they chose to give the character the send off. And let's be clear, he got swallowed by a graboid, and it's like flicking it off, knowing it's going to its death, skewered by bamboo and exploded by dynamite. And that's not one of those badass ways to go out. I don't know what is. So while does it suck that they killed Bert off? Yeah, but it also sucked they killed Wolverine off. But you know what? He still went out like a fucking badass. He still was Burt Gummer to the very end. And we will. Oh, and I'll always have the first 5 movies I own, and I can always get the other 2 if I wanted to. I'll always have those movies to go back and be like, yep. Well, and they had the audacity to do a brief clip show of some of his scenes from all the other movies. But it's like, and they show scenes from this movie. It's like, Burt Gummer, okay, woo. And did you know that Burt Gummer actually has his own day? Burt Gummer Day is tax day, April 14th, which I think is poetic beauty right there. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I will say this, of the 3, we got to call them the direct-to-DVD movies, the direct-to-streaming movies, the VOD, if you will. Because the other 4, yeah, they kind of were, but they did get airplay, like, say, on the Sci-Fi Channel and stuff back in the day. The other 3 did not. So those are the VOD. Let's call those the VOD trilogy with Old Man Gummer. The Old Man Gummer trilogy, if you will. If we're talking about how good those 3 particular movies are, this one I actually think is probably the best one. In fact, it's in descending order. This one was the best one. The 6th one was the second best one. And the 3rd one was the worst one. I mean, bad is not the right term for even the worst of this series, because this series knows exactly what it is. But in terms of the least entertaining with the most problems, I think, yeah, that I think is probably the worst of the 3. But look, Tremors, Shrieker Island I do hope we don't get any more of these. Honestly, there's a Tremors YouTube channel where you can go, and they got documentaries and stuff like that, and they got the entire TV series I've been watching. I'm like, yeah, I love Tremors. I always loved Tremors. Big giant monster movie, B movie fun. That's not the love. Anyway, so yeah, my thoughts on the movie. It's the best of the 3. It's still not as good as the original, like the original 3. The 4th one's a prequel, so it kind of lives in its own little world. But yeah, it's still probably not as good as any of the original 4. So take that for what it's worth. Ultimately, though, that's my thoughts on this movie. What did you think of the movie if you saw it? Put in the comments below, let me know. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Hit that bell if you want notifications. Ideas for who would win, Star Wars, Super Magic, what if? Anything to do with the channel, put that in the comments below. I'll get that at some point. So, I've still got 3 videos to do today. I pre-recorded my 2 videos for tomorrow already. But more importantly, I was already planning to do a review for something else. I still got to do a review for The Mandalorian Season 1. And that's not for today. It's my day off, so I got plenty of time to do this. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.